Okay, let's talk about something that hits close to home for so many of us. This whole idea of being too nice. But here's the twist. What if I told you that, deep down, it's often got very little to do with actual kindness at all?
I mean, you've probably been there, right? The tension in a room starts to climb, and suddenly you hear yourself apologizing, just to smooth things over, even when it wasn't your fault. It's such a common reflex, but today, we're going to dig into the real reason why this happens.
So, it turns out this isn't just about good manners or being polite. Psychologically speaking, it's way more primal than that. It's actually a full-blown survival strategy. And what does that even mean, a survival strategy? Well, it means when you're being too nice, you're not just dodging a fight. On a subconscious level, you're dodging what feels like a major threat to who you are in that relationship. You've basically learned that if you're agreeable, you're essential. You're irreplaceable. Or at least, that's the hope, isn't it?
At its heart, it's really this deep-rooted habit of seeking approval. You're constantly working to create this bubble of social safety, making sure everyone likes you, that you're valued. Because honestly, the alternative feels kind of terrifying. So, where does a feeling like that even start?
Well, it all comes down to this one, really powerful fear. And it's a fear that usually takes root way, way back, long before we're adults.
And this is it. This is the engine that drives the whole thing. It's this quiet, nagging feeling deep down that if you stop being useful, if you stop being agreeable, you'll just be replaced. Like your spot in someone's life is totally conditional.
And you can really see how this path gets paved, right? It so often starts when you're a kid. Maybe your emotions were dismissed or just ignored. So you learn this really tough lesson. Your value isn't a given. It's something you have to earn by doing things for other people. Fast forward to being an adult, and you're caught in this loop of just over-giving, constantly trying to prove you deserve to be there.
And here's the really heartbreaking paradox of being too nice. You think that by hiding your own needs, you're making yourself easier to keep around, easier to love. But what actually happens? You make yourself incredibly easy to overlook. Your needs, your wants, your whole self, it just sort of fades into the background.
So this fear doesn't just stay inside. It shows up in some really specific, sometimes subtle, patterns of behavior. Let's break down a few of them.
Okay, first up is a big one, using silence as a shield. And a lot of the time, you might not even realize you're doing it.
And listen, this has nothing to do with not caring. It's the total opposite. You care so much that the fear of saying the wrong thing, of rocking the boat, it's just paralyzing. So silence feels like the only safe move to protect a relationship you are desperate not to lose.
All right, pattern number 2. This is that constant, nagging pressure to be the fixer.
You know what I mean, right? Someone brings you a problem and you immediately feel this need to jump in and solve it. So why do we do that? Well, for one, unresolved stuff just feels messy and uncomfortable. And two, a huge part of your self-worth is probably tied to how useful you are to other people. And honestly, it's also a way to get some sense of control when everything else feels a little chaotic.
And the third pattern we're going to talk about is this state of hyper-awareness. It's like your social antennas are always on, turned up to the max. Yeah, you're basically on high alert all the time. You notice the slightest shift in someone's tone of voice, a tiny change in their expression, and your brain just kicks into overdrive. Are they mad at me? Did I do something wrong? It is absolutely exhausting.
And living like this, constantly scanning the room, fixing problems, managing emotions, it has a really, really high cost. You think you're buying peace with other people, but the currency you're using is your own peace.
And the price you pay, it's huge. There's that constant crushing guilt whenever you even think about saying no. And when you do manage to set a boundary, you feel like you have to explain it and justify it 1,000 times, which just waters it down. It all leads to one place, total emotional exhaustion. You end up trading your own inner peace for theirs.
Okay, but here is the most important part of this whole conversation. If any of this is resonating with you, please know it is not a life sentence. These are just patterns, and you absolutely can learn to protect your own peace.
And the first step is getting crystal clear on this difference. Real, genuine kindness, that comes from a place of choice, a place of fullness. Being too nice, that comes from a place of fear, of obligation. They look similar on the outside, but on the inside, they are worlds apart.
And this really is the key that unlocks everything. You are not born a people pleaser. These are learned behaviors, right? They're just coping mechanisms you picked up along the way to feel safe. And the truly amazing thing is, anything that was learned can be unlearned.
So just remember this. Your past explains why you have these patterns, but it doesn't get to decide your future. It gives you context, not a life sentence. It doesn't have to define who you choose to be from now on.
A huge piece of making this change is just reframing what a boundary even is. It's not mean, it's not selfish. Setting a boundary is actually a profound act of self-respect. It's you finally saying, my needs matter, my peace matters.
So I want to leave you with just one thing to think about. It doesn't have to be some huge, dramatic gesture. It can be small. But what is just one no that you can say this week that would actually be a giant yes to protecting your own peace?